Another weekly business show with Willie and Eugene. And this week we're going to be talking about high performance and goal setting. So, yeah, super excited. Stay tuned. Hope you learned something today. You can maybe tell us a bit more about the show today.
Yeah, guys, welcome to another episode of the Weekly Business Show. And super excited for today's topic because it's one of my favorite topics. It's one of the things that I coach people on, coach business owners on the most is peak performance and goal setting. So really excited to share some of the tips and tricks that's been working for some of my coaching clients and stuff that's been working for myself and Willie. I think myself and Willie had a fairly decent amount of success this year, and I think in my opinion, most of that is related to the type of goal setting and the peak performance or state management that we've applied throughout the year. So really excited to share a bit more about that for you guys. But Willie, before we get into the show and talk all about the goal setting and peak performance, just for anyone that's new on the show, just what's EHQ about?
Yes, guys. So, for everyone that's new to the show, so EHQ is something which was born out of our passion for entrepreneurship. And one of the things that we feel very strongly about is that you can fast track your success by not copying, but modeling after guys that's more successful than you. So that's how the show also started. This is our give back project. So the purpose of this is if you walk away here today and you've learned one thing, then we've achieved our goal for the show that we've started. But yeah, guys, so please share, like, subscribe to our channel, share it with all your entrepreneurial buddies. And if you'd like to join our mastermind, below this video at www.entrepreneurhq.co.za/mastermind, you will be able to join us, and then you become part of our community. And Eugene, we often speak about how lonely this journey of entrepreneurship is, and this is the place where you meet other people and spend time with other entrepreneurs, which helps you to go through this journey. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Les
what.
Brown also says quite often, there's a few different sayings about it. Les Brown says, show me your network and I'll show you your net worth.
Yep.
I can't remember, I think it was Dale Carnegie or someone that said, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
So the people that you hang around with has a massive, massive impact on how you think and how you behave and how you, just your actions. And the biggest problem for us as entrepreneurs, and I think that's the reason we started this as well, is where do you actually find someone else then? You get to a Friday night and you want a bra and it's the same people on your list. So where do you
Everyone
find
speaks
someone else?
about Corona, and I'm sick and tired of talking about Corona and ESCOM and all that shit.
So where do you find people that's actually business inclined and that wants to chat about business and chat about the things that the average person doesn't want to chat about? And that's why we created this group. So if you're one of those guys, if you're an entrepreneur and you are struggling to find groups and people to talk business with, join the link below.
Join the group. Cool, Eugene. So without further ado, so I know you're quite into this high performance and goal setting stuff. It's one of the things which you practice and you preach. But what is this all about for someone that doesn't know exactly what it's all about?
Yeah, thanks, Willie. So I think the difference comes in when you move from a lot of the guys that we interview, all of them started in the employee position. There's a few guys that were entrepreneurs from like the age of 12 or something. We had a few of them on the show. For the rest of us, we start off in this employee position and then we move over into entrepreneurship. When you're an employee, you get your salary, you work 8 to 5. Most of the time, you don't even work all 8 hours of the day. 2 hours you spend browsing Facebook and. And regardless of your performance, at the end of the month, you still get your salary. It's virtually impossible to fire someone in South Africa and the US. They just tell them, listen, dude, you're not performing. Get going. Which means we end up creating almost like I wouldn't say a system, let's call it a system of unproductive people. Uninspired is probably more accurate. Uninspired people. They're not inspired to achieve their highest performance. And I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks that we have to get over is when you employee and something doesn't work, you just pass it up the ladder. When you're an entrepreneur, everything stops with you. You're the one that needs to sort it out. And then you go on this entrepreneur roller coaster and you feel demotivated and you feel depressed and your team isn't performing and your customers isn't paying and then you still have to show up and give the best version of yourself.
Smile.
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 So how do we do this? How do we achieve this high level of performance? Because again, if you're an employee and today you don't perform, it's not the end of the world. You just catch up your work tomorrow. As an entrepreneur, the stuff that you put in play, the stuff that because entrepreneurship's a game. So the stuff that you put in play today, what is that going to compound over the next couple of years and what will it turn out to be? How many times did you do something really cool today and a year later you're making $1 million from that? So it's not the employee where if you don't do something today, tomorrow you just catch it up. You have to be on peak performance every single day. Yeah. Every single day you have to perform. Every single day your state has to be in a certain state. And just last thing on that, where a lot of the stuff made sense to me, there's an old-time philosopher, Aristotle. So Aristotle said, because all of us try and achieve happiness. What does happiness actually mean? Most of us choose fleeting objects. So the next car, the next house, the next holiday. It's this continuous growth of fleeting objects that's never achievable. So Aristotle said the true explanation of happiness is reaching the end of your life, looking back and realizing that you lived to your full potential. Now, how many of us can say that? How many of us can say that we're living every single day to our fullest potential? You know what you have inside of you. So if you know what you have inside of you, why don't you do it? We have to work until we're 60, most of us. The only choice we have is what are you going to do? Are you going to sit around and lazy about, or are you going to live to your fullest potential? So how many of us are actually living to our fullest potential? And that is happiness.
That is happiness. Yeah, so powerful. Eugene, you mentioned the word entrepreneurship quite a lot. And I think one of the things, the questions that we always ask ourselves, what does guys like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos do differently than what we do on a daily basis? And how would this high performance and goal setting fit into those guys' lives?
Yes, that's a really interesting question, because it's something that I've been researching, struggling, asking myself probably for the last 3-4 years. And I always get different answers when I ask people this. At the end of the day, they are still normal human beings. They're not, I don't think they've got there's a big variance in intelligence. I don't think there's a big variance in education. Most of them dropped out of high school or dropped out of college. They didn't even finish college. And then they started their businesses. So what is the biggest difference between us and them? And I think it comes down to the two things that we're discussing today. This is my personal opinion. It's not something that's written somewhere. It's my personal opinion.
The disclaimer says this is a personal opinion. Okay.
Because they still have the same amount of hours in the day that we do. They work the same amount of hours. They've got the same intelligence. Most of them grew up in the same way that we grew up. I mean, Elon Musk grew up, he went to Pretoria Boys.
Pretoria Boys. He was teased on the bus, and he was freaking, he didn't actually have a great childhood there.
Yeah. So most of these guys, and then if you look at that PayPal mafia, how all of them went on to start other big companies like YouTube, and I can't remember what's all the companies, but all of them went on and created another $1 billion company. So how can one person have such a big advantage above the average entrepreneur? And it comes down to two things to me. Number one is managing your state. So Elon Musk, for example, I read a thing the other day, if he's sitting in a conversation and the conversation isn't stimulating, or it's bringing down his energy or his flow or his state, there's different words for it. We describe it as flow or energy or state or mindset or whatever. So if he feels that bringing it down, he stands up and he walks away. So he doesn't allow external influences to influence his state that he's running at. And I think most of these guys do. That's number one. Number two, and here's the very interesting thing, because it goes totally opposite to what we've been taught. A lot of these courses and stuff that we've been doing, and it doesn't work. I see it on a regular basis. It doesn't work. It's goal setting. they don't have goals. They don't have this by in 12 months' time, the SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic with a time. So by December 2022, I want to earn this amount of money and this is how I'm going to measure it. That stuff never works. Show me one person that it actually worked for. So I think starting out on entrepreneurship, it's good to get into that stuff so that you can start learning how to think forward and think into the future. So what do they do differently? Is them, those type of elite, and then guys like the Japanese. Their business plan is a multi-generational business plan.
Yes, it's quite amazing how their businesses work.
Yeah. And that's the same for Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. They didn't have these SMART goals, yearly goals. They've got this big, big vision, 20, 30, 40 years into the future. They don't think about what they're going to earn by the end of the year. Elon Musk, I want to get to Mars. Okay, how am I going to get to Mars? Let's start a spaceship company and build spaceships that flies to Mars. I mean, how insane is that?
Yeah, it's almost like if you set the goal, there's like an end point to that goal. Then if you get to that goal, what do you do then? It's almost like you have to rephrase this goal that you've got into a, let's call it a dream. I would like to send someone to Mars, and then start asking yourself the questions, but what do I need to do now? Which I think, and I think there's a lot of different answers. There's not hard and set fast answers. This is, what do you think is the one thing? You've been talking a lot about the one thing. What's the one thing that I think I need to do now that's going to make the most impact to actually get to this dream? So, that's, we should almost change the phrase of goal setting to dream setting. Then there's no end point to that. And then you reverse engineer that to kind of.
Yeah. So just to add on to that as well, Willie, is so for everyone watching this, think about this one particular section and then be honest with yourself. Elon Musk has this thing about he wants to go to Mars. Steve Jobs wanted to make a dent in the universe. Bill Gates wanted to have a PC on every desk in the US. So if you think about this, what is your big vision? What's your big dream? And most of us don't have one. We're so short-sighted. We're thinking of the next year or next 5 years. What's your 30-year vision for this thing? And it's not money. Not one of them said, I want to be $1 billion company, or I want to earn this much by the end of the year. It was about impact. Vision inspires you. Money's not going to inspire you. It's not an inspirational thing to say, I want to have $1 billion company. The people that really make an impact, that really makes a difference, that thing of Steve Jobs, the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do.
They do, yes.
That inspires you, that vision, that the impact that you're going to make in the world, that is something that inspires you. Not money. Money doesn't inspire you.
It's almost like this dream needs to incorporate your purpose for being here. I'm just naming an example. And that was like Bill Gates' thing. I want to put a PC on everyone's table, because he knew exactly the value of what, we're sitting here today. We started this show last year in lockdown. The first, how many episodes, was done via, we've done all of them electronically, but we were able to achieve this by someone's dream of actually having a PC on everyone's table. And how amazing is that, eh?
Yeah, that is insane.
So Eugene, for someone, yes, go for it.
No, so exactly what you're talking about. And I think even if we think for ourselves, for EHQ, Willie, for your business, Value Smart, I think for Van Studios, we've got a fairly decent one. But for some of the other businesses, what is your big dream? And if you actually think about it, you don't have one. You don't have a big dream. You keep chasing the next big thing and the next high. And then it comes to the one thing, but we'll chat about that a bit later.
Okay. So Eugene, for someone that's not done this type of dream setting or something like that, where would you suggest that they start off with?
wonder if mine's... No, it's on the other board. So basically what I drew out, I don't know if you guys know vision boards.
Yeah.
So vision board is all the things that you want to do. My suggestion to start off with this thing is, just before we get into how do you start off, 10% of your activities produces 99% of your results. Yeah. And that's where that one thing comes in. So if you have this big dream, every day you can think, what is the one thing that I can do today that's going to have the biggest impact on this going forward? So where would you start off with is, if you're just starting out entrepreneurship, I think it's good to have just normal goals. Set some goals that you want to achieve. For example, pay off my debt, and I want to increase my income by 20%, etc., etc. That's good. Once you get to a stage where you have predictable cash flow, where the business has scalability, then think of what is the biggest impact that you can make. So to start that off, there's a thing called the Ikigai. Ikigai, Ikigai Test. So it's basically, what do you love? What does the world need? What can you get paid for? And what do you have exceptional competence in or exceptional skill in? And if you combine all of that, it doesn't help you've got an exceptional skill in electrical engineering, but you absolutely hate it. You're not going to build this massive empire, because the days that you're not motivated, now you have to get up and go to a place where you don't even like being. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it helps to like what you're doing, eh?
It really helps to like what you do.
Yeah.
And then start off with this vision. Think about, if there was no obstacles, no money, nothing, what would you do? What is the biggest thing that you can possibly conceive of what you can do? Because we vastly overestimate what we can do in 1 or 2 or 3 years. We think we are magical. We forget about the daily things that creep in that doesn't allow us to achieve this. So we vastly underestimate what we can do in 1 or 2 or 3 years. And we vastly underestimate what we can achieve in 30. So what is your 30-year goal? What's the point of setting a 5-year goal if you're going to work for another 30 years? If you're going to work for another 30 years, set a 30-year goal. If you're going to work for another 40 years, set a 40-year goal. And take it even further. How about setting a multi-generational goal? Setting something that will be for you and for your kids. Or someone to leave a legacy. What's your legacy?
Sure. Yeah, that's powerful. And the thing is, we think it's impossible. But if you go and look at Japanese companies, the oldest company in the world that's still trading today is something like 850 years old. If you go and Google that oldest company, 3 of the oldest companies is still running in Japan. And I think the only way that those guys could do it is just set multi-generational types of dreams, you know. Yeah, it's amazing. Thanks for that bit of advice. Eugene, so the next thing. Peak performance. It's not a term which we often hear, but peak performance goes hand in hand with goal setting.
Yeah.
For anyone that's new to the show or doesn't know what it means, just tell us a bit more about that.
So it started, one of the things where this started off, or my curiosity peaked in this, was I wrote a business plan about 5 years ago for my coaching business. And I was already coaching at that point. I was already generating income. And I spoke to quite a lot of coaches that's been coaches for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And they weren't generating any income. They didn't have any customers and in it. So I had about a 28-page business plan. And I made copies of my business plan and I gave it to all these guys. Because I think coaching is vital. If you're in business, you need to have a coach, not a mentor, a coach. Mentor, someone that's done what you've done and they go and tell you what to do. A coach helps you to unlock all this stuff so that you can follow your own vision, your own dreams, your own goals. So I believe in the power of coaching, and these were good coaches. They just didn't know how to run a business. So I gave them my business plan. And out of the 7 people that I gave the business plan, I spoke to them a year later, and only one of them applied some parts of the business plan. The other 6 didn't do anything with the business plan. I asked them, where is the business plan? They didn't even know where it was. So it's because it wasn't their idea. It wasn't their vision. It wasn't their dream. And I realized they sleep until 9, they get up, then they go do shopping, then they come home, and then maybe they'll start working a bit. So I realized that achievement goes hand in hand with peak performance. As I mentioned earlier, if you do something today, I can launch a website today that will make me $1 million over the next year. But if I'm not performing or not in a state of performance today, then I don't do the website. Then I do it 6 months later. So how much money have I lost out over the last 6 months because of one day that I wasn't achieving peak performance? Now, peak performance, we spoke a bit about it earlier. Peak performance, flow, state, all of this type of stuff, whatever you want to call it. I think that is the number one thing that differentiates us from, or differentiates people like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and those guys from the rest of us, is the level of achievement, the performance that they achieve on a daily basis is just absolutely insane. How they protect their state, how they protect what influences their state, who they spend their time with, the people that they employ, and. And I think that state also comes, that's why these two go hand in hand. Because if you don't have a big enough vision, it's not going to inspire you. So there's a motivational thing that I listen to in the mornings where they say, your dreams and your vision needs to be so big that it scares you. You don't need an alarm clock to wake you because your vision wakes you. You know what you have to do. Dude, this is my vision. I have to get up and do this.
Taps you on the shoulder every morning. Get up. Get up, get up.
One good time to go work on your vision. So what is your vision? What is your goal? And if you have that, how do you manage your state? So there's all these things that influence our state, all the stuff that's on our cell phones, the news we watch. Watching news decreases or increases your chance of having a bad day by like 27%.
Yeah, what's if the first thing you read is your cell phone in the morning? Is that you put yourself into that negative state, and then I think just to dumb it down for everyone is your state determines the type of decisions that you make.
Right.
And if you're in the wrong state of mind, in other words, you can't be on your peak performance if you're not in the right state of mind to make the right decisions to achieve this big dream that you've set for yourself. Is that a good description of what it actually is?
Robin Banks mentioned on the show as well when we interviewed him last year. He said, so this decreases or increases your chances of having a negative day. So what do is we read it first thing we wake up in the morning. Then we put on the TV while getting ready for work, and we listen to the news again. And just in case we haven't hit our 27% mark yet, we listen to it on the radio on the way to work again. I mean, how all these external stuff influences your state. Because if you're not in a state of performance, you can have the best marketing plan in the world, you can have the best business plan in the world, it's going to end up in a drawer somewhere, and you're not going to do anything. So
exactly,
all this marketing plan and strategy and all that stuff is really important. If you're not in a state to perform, all of this is meaningless.
So Eugene, just a question for everyone that's listening. What are some of the techniques which you apply to get yourself into a state where you start making better business decisions? And, what are some of the stuff that you do?
So, my state is crucial to me. People that's close to me know that I don't surround myself with people that bring down my state. If you want to complain and you want to, stir the waters, we have people that, a lot of people, and it's not their fault, and I don't judge them. Most of them aren't even aware that they're doing it. I just don't want them in my space. Is people who walk around with their ego on their shoulder.
Yeah.
So, listen, you aren't performing. What do you mean I'm not performing? Don't you know what I did last week? Or, listen, you can't come over this weekend. I just need a different type of conversation. What are you telling me? I'm not a good friend. What? I don't deal with people like that. You know what? I try to express my opinions. There's a thing that I read is never apologize for your wants and needs, because no one that I've ever met has lofty wants or needs. So we want to be apologetic and we want to change our behavior to make everyone else around us happy.
Yeah.
You can't make them happy. It's their own choice to be happy. Make yourself happy. So
Yep.
focus on yourself first. Don't allow these negative. I'm looking at some of the people in my circles, some of the things they're dealing with family crises and stuff like that. I shut that stuff off. I want peace and freedom, and I want to choose where I spend my time. Number one. Number two is morning routine. How you set yourself up for the morning is how you're going to spend your day.
Yep.
So we've spoken quite a bit about that, so go read up on it. Morning routine, 5 a.m. club's also a pretty cool book. Morning routine, absolutely crucial. And then lastly is, it's almost like whatever you water a plant, that's what it will grow into. So if you're watering a acorn seed, you can pray and wish as much as you want. That thing will never turn into a lemon tree. It'll always be an acorn tree. Now, at the same stage, if you think about it, the acorn's this big. The acorn's lying in this fertile soil. And if it gets water and gets rain and it's in a fertile soil, that little thing, the potential of it, grows into this massive, massive tree. But it has to be in the right soil, right, friends? It has to get watered every day. What information are you putting in? It has to have sunlight. How do you rejuvenate yourself? Exercise, meditation, prayer, whatever it is. All those things needs to be conducive for this potential to actually achieve this massive tree. So you are the same. You are this ball of potential. You've got all this potential inside of you. But if you lying in the shade, or you're lying between the weeds, or you're lying on a piece of concrete, or you don't get enough water, or you don't get enough sunlight, you'll never turn into your full potential. So for you to turn into your full potential, what are you feeding your mind? What's your morning routine? Who are you spending your time with? Absolutely.
It's almost, people think, who's the 5 people you spend your time with? They take that literally. But if you want to take it a bit further, is what are the nonsense that you read on a daily basis? What are the stuff that you're keeping yourself busy with? If you're going to sit and eat burgers the whole day, don't expect to have a beach body. It's not going to work that way, So Eugene, thanks so much for that insight into this. I think we're running out of time, so I've got one last question for you before we call it a day, and that is, if someone wants to learn a bit more about peak performance, or how to manage your state, I think is a better word, where can they start?
Yes, there's so many cool books. Really, maybe you also know one. So I listened quite a bit about it on Audible. And then Tony Robbins has a thing that he says, success leaves clues. So that's what Willie talks about, modeling after people who's already successful. So success leaves clues. The people who are successful do things in a certain way, and it leaves clues. And 99% of the people that I know that's super, extremely successful has no obligation to keep this information to themselves. They want to share. They want to help as many people as they can. So this fallacy about rich people is this and rich people is this and successful people, it's all rubbish. I know a lot of them, they're the most humble guys under the sun. But if you come to them and try and waste their time, I don't think they're going to be a nice person. I'm not going to be a nice person if you come to me and waste my time. But if you come and you want to learn, they're the most humble guys that you've ever met in your life. It's absolutely crazy. So success leaves clues. Everyone that's successful goes and writes about it. In this book, they've got 20 years worth of knowledge and struggle and all of that they put into a book that you can consume in 10 or 20 hours. Go do it. Number one. Number two, I think 2 of the guys that talks about it the most. So part of my morning routine, every morning, I listen to a video on Tony Robbins on YouTube.
He's super awesome. He knows quite a lot about this stuff.
3-4 years, and he talks a lot about managing your state. And then a book that I read recently is The One Thing, which was also a pretty cool book. And then another guy that you can follow is Brendan Burchard. So Brendan Burchard is also very, very high up in habits and rituals and routine. So he's got a book High Performance Habits, I think, is his book by Burchard, which is also really cool. I think that number one thing about learning about this is just learning, because it ties into purpose. What's your purpose? How often do we hear people say, I don't know what my purpose is? No one knows what their purpose is. It's a universal untruth. Do you know how you figure out what your purpose? Go do a bunch of stuff and see what you like. That's
Exactly.
purpose. You overcomplicate it. How would you ever know what you're going to like if you don't actually test things? In your head, you've got this thing of, wow, it's going to be so amazing. And then you go and do it. And it's like, oh, it's actually not that cool. Or you have
Exactly.
stuff like, yes, I'd like to go do this or this or this. And then I'd like to go snowboard one day, but it's not really something major. And then you go do it. And it's like, yes,
Yeah.
I love this.
Well, there's a reason why there's a thing such as test driving stuff.
Yeah.
In the car industry has got this down to a T. So they're just like, if you're not sure if you like it, just come and ride this thing, you know.
So I want to leave my last comment on this, Willie, is for anyone that wants to build something big, anyone that wants to move their life forward, if you want to make an impact, this is my advice to you. Not for the guys that just wants to create a safe job or a business that's one or two people and stay in there for the rest of their life. I'm talking about people that really want to scale and do things. Don't worry about the small stuff. That's all fluff. There's things about what industry should I be in, what niche, how should my marketing thing look like, what must my logo be, all that sort of things. Don't worry about it. There's two things that you need to worry about, and it's the two things that we spoke about today. What's your vision? If you figure out what your vision is, what's your dream, what's your 30, 40, 50-year goal? I'm not talking about your 2, 3, 5-year goal. That's small goals. I'm talking about your 30-year goal. Figure that out. And then secondly, once you figure that out, every single day and every month and every year, think, what is the one thing I can do to move me closer to that? What is the one thing that I should be doing today? Only I can do it. The rest of the stuff must be outsourced. So that's number one. Number two, manage your state. If you're not in a state of peak performance, if you're not performing, motivated, driven every single morning, all your business plans, all your marketing plans, all your strategies are going to end up in a drawer, and you're going to end up checking your emails the whole day. So the two things: get a vision, get a dream, action it. Number two is manage your state, manage your peak performance.
Yeah, and if I can also just add something to that, Eugene, about managing your state. Remember, everything starts with yourself, and maybe we can have like an episode where we talk about all these self words. Something which is I'm really passionate about. I think when I got to a realization that I'm at the place in my life where it's everything about all the self decisions that I've made. So everything that I've done is putting me where I'm now. And as soon as I realized that, that's also where the change started creating in my life, or I created the change in my life. I knew that I didn't, had the self-confidence to do things. And, we can go through all of these self words, but start with yourself. If you blame everyone and all the governments and everything, and Corona, everything around you, then you won't go forward in life. You start with yourself. If you want to learn more stuff, be curious, do self-development, all of that thing. So I think that ties into your state, and you've actually got control over that. So when you start making better decisions for yourself, when you make better decisions for yourself, that's where you actually change that state. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think it's all of these external factors. Just to share something, this load shedding thing got a bit to me, and it got to such a point that my wife said to me, "Sure, I see you've got some anger in you about this stuff." And once she's mentioned that to me, my self-awareness is of such that I could say, okay, but I don't really have control of it, so I need to find another way of dealing with it. And once I've done that, I were able to move past this. So I've stopped blaming them for certain things and started making plans in order to overcome them. But you know, that's a good example of how you need to think about things.
Wow.
But I think, yeah. So Eugene,
You can
once
either be
again,
a victim or you can be an achiever. Can't be both.
exactly, you can't be both. It's either the one or the
Blaming
other.
someone, if you keep going into victim state, you're not going to be able to change anything because it's outside of your control.
Cool. Everyone,
Nice.
welcome. Thanks, Van the Man, for another
Yeah.
show. Everyone
Thanks,
that speaks
guys.
up without you, there can't be a show. I hope you've learned something. Like, subscribe, share this channel. If you want to join, below this link, you'll find the link to our mastermind.
Guys, until we see you on the next weekly business show with myself, my main man, Willie. Hope you have an awesome week and chat to you soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.